So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Hey, thanks for watching our live stream. I'm the host, David Krayden. In the meantime, have a look at some of these clips and take the opportunity, please, to like this broadcast, ring the bell, or subscribe.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war.
But freedom is something you earn every day.
I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist. Hi, happy Saturday. Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. And I am your host, David Krayden. It's so nice to see you on this Saturday. Overcast here in Ottawa. And we got another week coming up. And we just finished a week. So let's do a little summation if we can. But when I come back, we'll talk about ostriches, the RCMP, Mark Carney, and some other matters.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
No. We'll do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Yeah, and we're doing it live. I was hoping to get Katie Pasitne on the show this morning, but I think she's tired from the week. It's been a horrible week at Edgewood, BC's Universal Ostrich Farms. And Katie and I have been, of course, in touch all week, and just crazy. There's very few media there right now, and Dacey Media has been doing a lot of the footwork. Another guy arrested yesterday. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we'll talk about how much this is costing, and also how absurd this all is. Before I get into that, I really wanted to show you, this incredible controversy with Mark Carney.
It's actually a question for Commissioner Duham, if that's okay.
Okay, he's very capable, yes. Would you like me to step aside? Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, sir.
I'll just...
This is a question on behalf of my colleagues in our Parliament Hill Bureau. Commissioner, in a recent interview, the Leader of the Opposition called the leadership of the RCMP despicable when it comes to enforcing laws against the Liberal government, and accused your officers of covering up for former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the SNC Levant affair. What's your response to Pierre Poilievre's comments, and have you ever faced political pressure from the government to not pursue charges?
So I think we've talked about SNC Lavalin quite a lot under the previous government, and I think it was clear that there's no interference. I don't take any orders from any political individual. And as far as his comment with regards to senior management, I would invite Monsieur Poilievre to meet with us and to meet with the people who run this great organization, 32,000 strong. So,
next question.
Good morning, Prime Minister.
Yeah, it's a great organization. Like the FBI is a great organization. Was a great organization, probably at least until its 100th anniversary in 1973. Some of you might recall the Quarter having a picture of the mounted police. It was the 100th anniversary. Started out, of course, in Western Canada only as the Northwest Mounted Police, and had a storied history and a storied past. And I find it fascinating because, of course, even American films looked up to the RCMP as almost greater than their own FBI. There were cartoons devoted to the RCMP, musicals devoted to the RCMP. And of course, the motto always gets his man. that was attributed to the RCMP. And it was never seen as a political appendage of any government or any political party. It was seen as a trustworthy organization that represented Canada, all Canadians, whether or not you voted Liberal or Conservative or Progressive Conservative in the old days or CCF or New Democratic Party. It didn't matter. It was a Canadian institution. It's not anymore. And because everything we see indicates that they are in bed with the Liberal government. They love this Liberal government. They didn't go after Justin Trudeau for the SNC-Lavalin scandal. And Justin Trudeau walked from that one. And of course, Pierre Poilievre is now being criticized on a number of levels for calling the RCMP despicable, for covering up just on Justin Trudeau. And of course, we're hearing how Mark Carney wants to hire 1,000 more RCMP constables. Is that a good idea? If these people are being used against us, against the Canadian people? And clearly, that's what's happening, people. And this is a police state. And a lot of people have remarked about this picture of Mark Carney standing in front of his police force. And it's reminiscent of a police state, of dictatorships, of tyrannies, where the police are there to enforce the government's edicts, not the law, to enforce the government's edicts. And this brings us back to what's going on in Edgewood, BC. And of course, we're going to delve into this a bit more tomorrow. But this is absolutely fascinating, because all we hear from the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, is they're doing they're following the procedures, the protocol, and the laws and regulations of the World Animal Health or World Organization for Animal Health, WOA. Whoa. And that should be the acronym is quite accurate. Whoa. Before you guys get complete, you are off the rail. But here's a study that shows this report indicates that Canada is not even following the dictates of the World Health Organization or the World Organization. And excuse these glasses, I couldn't find my black ones this morning. Ostrich Farm notes, World Organization for Animal Health guidelines assume a decision to control or eradicate has been made by the National Veterinary Authority, but the code ties stamping out to shorter recovery timelines for free status. If stamping out is not used, countries must demonstrate absence of infection over extended periods, e.g. 12 months. Question, and I thank Share Aware Canada for this post. Why is the CFIA not demonstrating the absence of infection? This has been the question from the Ostrich Farm from day one. This has been my question since I started covering the story last April, 6 months ago. Why is the CFIA refusing to test these birds? What are they covering up? What do they have to fear? We know this is a big charade. This is theater with these CFIA goons walking around in their hazmat costumes like they really are afraid for their health. Took them a couple of days to put them on, though. And you don't see the RCMP dressed up like that. Isn't that interesting? Trade implications. Without free status, exports face restrictions, e.g. no trade in live poultry from affected zones per Article 10.4.7. Processed products may require virus infections. So this is all nonsense because the United States has jettisoned all of these global standards, but the global standards themselves are more lenient than what the CFI is implementing at Universal Ostrich Farms. And this is incredible. So the free status may be regained after a minimum period of 28 days. How long have these ostriches been healthy? Until the CFIA got a hold of them, and that is over 350 days. And there are still ostriches, we don't know how many are left, but there are still ostriches who have been healthy now for over 360 days. Or sorry, I'm at 260 days. It'll be a year in December. Sorry, It was a long night. But we're going to talk about this more tomorrow because clearly something is wrong here. Something is very wrong. And I want to go to my X site here for a sec to talk about a couple of things because this is, I think, crucial to understanding exactly what's going on at this farm. So we're going to have a look at this court order. I'll scroll down here. Here's the court order that Katie sent out last night to a number of folks, including myself. I was on the distribution list with a number of other folks. There's a problem with this. And this is only page 1. I've asked Katie to send pages 2 and 3, and also to get her on the show tomorrow to discuss this. No different. Okay. Here's what Agent Blusky points out. What the F is that? Why is court file number blank? There's no court file number there. This is very interesting. Who the hell put this out without even following basic procedure? This is administrative fodder, he writes. No different if the municipality gives notice. It's not a court order. They can't steal property without a court order from the King's bench. This is, I can't say the word, R-level dystopian shit show. CFIA campfire. And there's what Katie sent to me last night, along with Alex Jones, Polyev, redacted Elon Musk, other folks who do care about this story, or should care about this story. And Kara also notes the warrant of search, which of course the CFI are using every day as a justification for continuing to occupy the farm as well as the adjacent property and to build a road on the adjacent property. They're calling this an extended warrant of search, not a search warrant, extended warrant of search. But this warrant of search apparently has no court registry number on it. Could it be that the CFI and RCMP are acting on a fraudulent piece of paper? This is Katie and the farm are looking at ways to stop what appears to be an illegal and unwarranted killing of their ostriches while they await for the Supreme Court, which could take another 2 weeks, by the way, before they get back. I don't know if these birds have that long. I don't know if the farm has that long to wait. But Tasha Reynolds, that warrant does not seem legal, and I don't understand how your lawyer hasn't been able to go in and have it revoked, as well as the people who have been arrested for obstructing it. Another person arrested yesterday. All their cases should be thrown out. It's not a legal document. Just incredible. Agent Blusky, we reposted this morning. Yeah, they are all effed. Taking possession of property requires due process, not an edict from some office dwellers in Edmonton and Ottawa. And so that's where we stand right now. I'll have more to say about the ostrich farm in a minute and about the gross violation of property rights and human rights and legal rights that's going on at this property. It continues to go on, and we need the official opposition leader to speak out about that. He talked about the RCMP as being despicable for covering up Justin Trudeau, refusing to make an arrest, refusing to really follow through in that SNC Lavalin case. Mr. Polyev, please step up to the mic and say what the RCMP and the CFIA is doing at this farm is despicable. I have to laugh at this too, because, and like I say, we'll get back to the ostrich farm politics in a minute, but that's all this is. It has nothing to do with public safety, nothing to do with international trade, nothing to do with doing the right thing. It's had everything to do with following Liberal Party guidelines. And interesting how so many in the Liberal Party are invested heavily in the vaccine. So do you remember Dimitri Soudis? I remember Dimitri Soudis, yes. He used to be one of Prime Minister Stephen Harper's top communications advisors. And he was having a romance, we'll call it that, with Conservative MP who jumped ship across the floor. Eve Adams was her name. I almost worked in her office, actually, at one point. Came very close. Then she, of course, jumped ship, and there was chaos everywhere. She became a Liberal, and I don't think she's been heard of since because she hasn't been elected as a Liberal in the area. But Dimitri Soudis had the gall to suggest that the Conservative Party that was shaped by the nation building of Sir John A. Macdonald, the moral conviction of John Diefenbaker, the bold ambition of Brian Mulroney, and the steady discipline of Stephen Harper is far greater than any one man. It is a party rooted in history, principle, and purpose, a party built to serve the country, not the ego of a single leader. No individual, no matter how loud or popular, has the right to rewrite that legacy or distort it into something it was never meant to be. This week, Poilievre accused Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of committing what he described as the worst possible offense for a head of government, violating the criminal code and escaping justice. So anyway, I'm not going to read all of this post. This from Dimitri Soudis, who, by the way, as Anna Tamala from Mr. Poilievre's office points out, that Soudis does not speak on behalf of Mr. Harper. And you know, I have to laugh. Lawrence Martin, of course, die-hard Liberal columnist, had the nerve to suggest that Soudis wouldn't have written this attack on Poilievre without Stephen Harper's okay. It means the knives are out to get Pierre Poilievre, and they are big knives that could kill his leadership. Oh, yeah, God, it's because Pierre Poilievre's too conservative, too right-wing, he's not moderate enough, not liberal enough. Hear the usual bullshit. And as Laurie Goldstein, columnist for the Toronto Sun, points out, Anna Tamala, Chief of Staff and Canada's 22nd Prime Minister, Harper and Associates, Senior Advisor, Wellington Advocacy, former PMO Press Secretary. This article does not reflect former Prime Minister Stephen Harper's views. Mr. Soudis does not speak on behalf of Mr. Harper. So perhaps Anna has a clue about what she's talking about here. And good on you, Laurie, for pointing out that this is the usual crap from the liberal media in this country. And yeah, Pierre Poilievre needs to be speaking out about this. And ignore Dimitri Soudis. Please ignore Dimitri Soudis. And there's the warrant, the warrant to search again that was shared last night by Katie. And want to go back though, talk about some things, because thank you, by the way, before I forget, for all of you who tuned in yesterday to watch my interview with the Honorable Jerry Ritz, former Minister of Agriculture for 8 years under Prime Minister Stephen Harper. And I think a lot of people think Jerry was one of the best ag ministers we ever had, not just because he was a farmer, but he was a farmer who really understood where the government should be and shouldn't be vis-a-vis farmers. They should not be over-regulating. They should not be telling farmers how much fertilizer they can or cannot buy. They should not be trying to stifle farming in this country. They should be facilitating agriculture as best they can without interfering in the free market process. That's how Jerry ran his ship. And of course, in the interview yesterday, we focused on what is happening at the farm, at the ostrich farm. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I was not shocked. I was pleasantly surprised, not only how much of the story Jerry has been following, because he's not involved intimately with politics anymore to the extent he was as a member of Parliament for Northern Saskatchewan and a cabinet minister in the Harper government. But he's clearly been following the story, and he clearly is on the side of the ostrich farm, and he's clearly recognizing that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is either a rogue agency or it's following a rogue government, one or the other. But it's damn wrong. And what it's doing is authoritarian, tyrannical. And I think Jerry realizes that. But And it was, and thank you for your kind comments on that. So many of you said, love this interview. And Jerry's always welcome here. And like I said, he was, I knew Jerry before he was a cabinet minister, and I've always respected and admired him as a man of honor, a man of integrity and conviction. And so here's why is the CFIA fighting with healthy birds? And we've got a video up of that. And it is just so true. Why is the CFIA fighting with these healthy birds? Because clearly they have upped the ante again. Here they are in their silly hazmat costumes, looking, and it's people are filming this, but we know that they're trying to get the birds used to going into their death arena, if you want to call it that, where the CFI has set up all these bales of hay where they can hide their dirty work from the world and from whatever media is there and whatever supporters and protesters are on the scene. They're hiding their dirty work behind these bales of hay, but they're trying to entice the birds to go in there to get used to the idea. That's what's happening. And
what about those ostriches?
And here's
where are the 100 missing birds? Come on, bird. What about the ostrich farm? What about the birds, Mark Carney? Can you explain the birds?
What are they doing?
Why are
Chasing
they
them out of
gone
here?
missing with the CFIA?
Good evening, Mr. President.
what a caring man. He really couldn't give a damn about anything that's going on there. And here we've got another shot here of the, they're fighting. They're literally fighting with the ostriches here. I mean, it's hard to believe.
Look at this, making them run away like that.
Quit scaring the birds, guys.
Walk slow.
Pretty bird.
Yeah, they're fighting with the
What
birds.
the hell?
Oh, he's running over.
Yeah, he's trying. You got away. Good work, buddy.
Pretty bird.
This one didn't want anything of it. Hey, birdie. Hello. Yeah, you come over near us.
Pretty bird.
Yeah.
Oh, another one
birds know who
escaped
their
too.
friends are. Yeah.
Here comes another.
Pretty bird.
Yeah, and that's that is what is going on here with the anarchy that's at this farm right now. It's anarchy if you happen to be the ones being totally oppressed by the government, because the farmers aren't certain what's going on here because they aren't allowed to even view their ostriches or feed their ostriches. I've said this every day. This is unacceptable. This is completely unacceptable. And, this has to stop. And I'm just looking for the video here. But before I do that, here.
We need to know what these bids are doing. Why are there so many? They come in and out repeatedly.
Why are 6 bins coming every single day? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are the numbers dropping every single day? Coincidence?
Yeah, and I'm hoping it's something we don't think it is, but there seems to be a drastic short count of birds.
Yeah, there's an incredible short count of birds. And this is why I've been saying every day here, I don't know if this farm has a week or two to wait for the Supreme Court to come back. And why is there no political solution coming? Why, Jerry Ritz said yesterday, if I was ag minister, I would say, test the birds now, today. If they're healthy, get the hell off the farm. That was Jerry Ritz's advice as a man who was ag minister for 8 years. And I could see he's furious about this. And he doesn't think this is going to end very well, for the folks at this farm. And Let's listen to what Katie had to say
for
yesterday.
agreeing to accredit Rebel News. I very much appreciate your dedication to freedom of the press. I have a question about the...
Now, this is Ezra Levant from Rebel News at a news conference. It looks like all the health ministers are together here. Now, Ezra looks a little surprised that he's even there because, of course, Rebel News is anathema to the Prime Minister's office and the Carney cabinet, just as it was to the Trudeau cabinet. They never get invited, as do most of us who are no longer with a recognized, verified mainstream media outlet. I could never get to a news conference anymore. So good on you, Ezra, for being there. But get a load of how the health minister and all of these other people, I think presumably health ministers from across the country, react to, I think, a very good question from Ezra Levant.
The Ostrich Farm. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to ask about the lawsuit because I don't want you to talk about anything that are before the courts. But there was a letter, and I noticed in the statement you talk about Canada-U.S. cooperation. I know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your U.S. counterpart, has written saying he thinks that there's some medical research value in these ostriches because they had avian flu, but then have recovered and are now immune. In fact, he's offered to do the research and even to pay for it. It seems to me that we need allies around Trump's cabinet table. And if you could throw him a bone and say, sure, Secretary Kennedy, you can study these birds, it's sort of no skin off Canada's nose. And don't you think it would be helpful to have an ally in Trump's cabinet when we're doing our trade negotiations?
Prochaine question, merci.
That's my question. Don't you think it would be helpful to have a friend?
Next reporter, merci.
I believe that how rude this excuse for a press secretary, whatever the hell he is. Next question, please. Next reporter. The health minister just stares blankly ahead. Is there a question there? I'm sorry. Who's that reporter over there? What's he doing here? I'm sorry, I don't answer questions from Rebel News. That's what she's saying with her eyes. But she refuses to even answer a question. And this is how incredibly politicized the National Press Gallery has become, because what the cabinet ministers in Carney expect, of course, are softball questions like, can the minister explain why she's doing such a hell of a good job? Can the minister explain why everything she's doing is absolutely supported by Canadians? Or words to that effect. It's the same sort of crap the cabinet ministers get in question period from their own Liberal members of Parliament, and who famously or infamously stand up and ask questions these softball questions about, can the minister explain why her policy on this is so acceptable, so understood, and so supported by Canadians from coast to coast? Then she, thank you for that's the best question I heard today. And that, of course, is how question periods run. But this is outrageous in the extreme.
Oh, you're not going to answer, Minister?
Prochaine question, merci.
I don't understand. Did I do something wrong?
Next question, thank you.
Minister, did I miss an answer? I don't get it. Okay, I'll sit down. It's I guess it's question period, not answer period.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. It's if you don't laugh at this and say, what the hell has this country come to? We're a reporter of Ezra's stature, and I've known Ezra for over 20 years. I met Ezra when I was working on Parliament Hill, and so was Ezra. And he'd even at that point been writing for the National Post, and he joined Preston Manning's office when he was leader of the opposition. And Ezra had enormous stature over the years, not just as a journalist who keeps fighting back. You know, first of all with the Western Standard magazine and other things he's taken on. I think the most successful project he's ever had is Rebel News. And yeah, he gets suppressed big time by social media, but he has millions of followers and he has a huge audience. And that's because he gives news that other outlets don't want to touch. And Ezra's been covering this ostrich scandal from day one. And my hat's off to Ezra and Drea Humphrey, who's done so much good work. Sheila Gunn-Reid, who's done so much good work on this file. Thank you, because there's so many others out there, independent and new media, who won't touch this story. They'll do one report on it and say, whoops, that sure hit my numbers. Won't touch it again. There are some outlets out there who consider themselves conservative, small c, although they're really large C conservative outlets, will not touch this story at all. And shame on you. You know who you are. I'm not going to name names right now. Maybe I will another week. If these ostriches end up being exterminated entirely, I'm going to be pissed off at a lot of people for doing nothing, because it's not going to end there. This is going to be a heartache for Katie and her family for years to come, but it's not going to end there. It won't end when the next farm is attacked, when the next household is occupied by the CFIA or the Carney government, the next household that has a road built in their backyard because the CFIA or another government agency doesn't want the world to see what they're doing. So we're going to build a road here so we can do things in secret. So we can do our clandestine activities, and nobody has to know what we're up to. So we'll build a road in your backyard. Well, you don't want a road in your backyard? Well, the hell with what you want. It's what the government wants, and that's what we've come to in this country. It's very sad. So here's Katie talking about yesterday, and this is the world. Yeah, thank you for that comment. The world will be pissed off. Well, I can tell you, I'm damn well going to be pissed off. But here's Katie's message yesterday. And where are we? Here we are. Let me get this going here. It's a minute now. Sorry, I should have shared that. Just hold on. I'm going to show that again because I wasn't sharing the screen. Here we are. Sorry for that. This is Jim Carr being arrested.
I think it's time we need to flip some tables. Overthrow this country, we are able. Follow the real Jesus, I don't care about your fables. If we need to turn from sin, then why's it being cradled? And if perhaps you turn to him, that's why you're being labeled as extreme. We the cream of the crowd, call us the remnant. Yeah, we the type of Christians that are purged, start with the Senate. All these elites started beef, but Jesus gonna end it. God's people want relief, and there's only one way to cleanse it. But Tyson, we need to be nice. Thought you were Christian. As they taking all your rights, just stand by and I'll be different. Jesus coming back, and trust me, he ain't gonna be playful. Until I hear the trumpet blow, I'm flipping over tables. I am in the mood to flip some tables. People think I'm rude, don't give a hoot about your labels.
And here's Katie explaining the situation yesterday.
Jim Kerr did get arrested, and he videoed himself going across the line. That is the quarantine zone, the blue punishment fence, it's called Blue Mile, the punishment fence, because it all is just a theatrical display of punishment is what it is for standing up for what's right. But, we just really a message out to everybody, please, to encourage anybody who's visiting the farm to respect that blue fence and respect that boundary, because that boundary is our communication line and our line into the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and protecting our animals.
I'm not saying we have to break the line, but sometimes we've got to bend them.
So that was Katie's message yesterday. And of course, the day before that, she went down to Kelowna to testify or to make a statement to the RCMP asking CFIA to be charged for animal cruelty. And far, should have done that 2 weeks ago. And we need to resolve what's going on with this illegal occupation of not just the neighbor's property, but the CFIA has no right to be enforcing this warrant to search every day. That's what it's doing. And as it seems clear from this warrant to search, and we're going to get Katie on, hope, tomorrow to discuss this further, this does not look like an official document. There's something very unusual about this. And once again, this is government overreach, and it's using documents that might not even be valid. Need I say more? But the amazing thing to me is that there has been no pushback from the mainstream media on this story. They have instead, the CBC has instead written spurious and so I would say in some cases defamatory accounts of what's going on at the farm, the financial problems the farm allegedly has, and of course the fact that the neighbors are all up in arms over the ostriches being there because they supposedly think they pose a health risk. All rubbish. But that's what the mainstream media has focused on, not the fact that this is an illegal occupation that should never have started in the first place, and that CFIA continues to be killing these birds on a daily basis in contravention of the Supreme Court order, which we have shown and said several times, says the CFIA will retain custody of the ostriches, not to continue to kill the ostriches, retain custody. That at the very least implies care and feeding of the ostriches. And I think this is a boondoggle, and a lot of people have requested we show this again because we didn't. This is not as a result of an access information request. We have put the official access to the information request in. However, those things don't come back in 48 hours. So by the time it comes back, this might be a moot point because there might not be a single ostrich left. But what's going on here? We're now at day 27. And yeah, it'll be day 28 tomorrow. 4 weeks. 4 weeks of occupation. So what are they paying for here? What are you, the taxpayer, paying for? Semi-truckloads of hay bales for a 3-meter high wall enclosing 1 to 2 acres ostrich pen area. They took so much hay from the local area that the farmers had a shortage of it. Use of blue modular fences for access restriction, likely heavy-duty plastic or HDPE temporary fencing. Rubber matting, not explicitly mentioned in reports, but inferred to as a biosecurity flooring investment for containment zones. Yeah, right. Trucking, multiple semi-trailers for hay and other supplies from regional suppliers. Personnel rates, federal employee salaries, overtime and contractor fees. Duration, initial setup is 3 days. So we're basing this is an AI, or specifically, this is a grok assessment, which I don't always like to do, but when you want something quick and you need something quick, this is what you have to do sometimes. So the setup phase was day 1 to 3. This was based on about 40 RCMP officers. In the beginning, there were over 100 RCMP officers there. There's still at least 40 to 50 there on a daily basis. Personnel, 42,000. Here's the salary, just $56,000 a day. The RCMP are receiving up to $38,400 a day. The CFIA is getting $12,000 to $18,000. There's gas. There's hotels. Now, this is an estimate because all these people are staying in local hotels in Vernon. I had a look at the hotel directory the other day, and all but one of those hotels would probably be approved by the government hotel directory, which if you've never worked in the bureaucracy or in the Canadian Armed Forces, that's the directory that the government says, yes, you can stay at these hotels, they're approved. This one's a little too expensive. There's only one of the hotels on that hotel directory that would probably, and I'm guessing, because I haven't seen the government hotel directory in many years. But I'm guessing at $260 a night, the government might say, well, it's a bit much. Try to find something at like $200, $220 a night. But nothing would surprise me here. So that's the cost we're looking at. All of this cost for hotel, and they get a per diem for meals. So that per diem is probably about $120, $150 a day per person. And yeah, you can drink on that per diem. It's your choice. You can say, well, I'm going to forego breakfast and lunch and have a big dinner and lots of booze. And your per diem will cover it because you don't have to hand in receipts. It's a per diem. So receipts are not required. I don't have to show what I ate or drank that night. Nice work if you can get it, eh, folks? That's the way the Canadian government works. So what's the cost of this? This is Mark Carney's $1 million boondoggle that's approaching his $2 million boondoggle and could turn into a $4 million boondoggle by the time this is over. Easily. And that's a conservative estimate. But here's where it stands right now. 1.183 million to 1.614 million. That's probably closer to 2 million. Overall average, $45,500 to $62,100 Canadian a day. So that's the cost of Carney's boondoggle. And when asked about this, Carney laughs. It's no big deal for Mark Carney. No. I'm going to show a little bit more of this. Well, actually, I'm going to show the merchandise. I've got one more video to show and some more comments to make about this. But let this sink in. This is the cost of this exercise in authoritarianism. Approaching 2 million already, and I would go out and bet that it's going to approach 4 million at least by the time this farm is freed from its occupation. I don't know if we have much time left. I really don't. What do we have here? Oh. I don't know what this is on for. Yeah, I'm going to go to the merchandise. Be back. And we do have some great ostrich stickers that are available. Have a look in the store. And thank you for all of you who have patronized that store. And some of you have done it in large numbers, and it's much appreciated. And thank you for some of you who have offered support. And we're still considering whether or not it's a good idea to go out to the farm, if that would do actual benefit. If it would really benefit the situation, I'm prepared to do that. I don't think I've missed a day on this show in the past 3 weeks where I have not mentioned what's going on that farm and talked about the courage and the heroism of the family who's running that farm and who's standing up as best they can against the full force of the federal government with its police and its paramilitary organization called the CFIA. Let's listen to a bit of what Katie had to say before she went to provide a statement to the RCMP. And we're No, for some reason, when I'm unable to show that that video to you. But I think if there is one aspect of this occupation that I would like to leave you with today, it's the fact that it won't end there. And I hope Jerry's wrong in his assessment. I think he was 100% correct in his assessment about what's leading this. Who's leading this? It's coming from the Prime Minister's office. There's no question about that. The CFIA would not be doing this unless they knew they had the full authority and approval of the Prime Minister and the cabinet, of the Ag Minister, of the Health Minister. And the Health Minister, of course, when she's quizzed and queried and questioned by Ezra Levant, in the one question he got to ask, looks ahead quizzically, like, who is this guy anyway? What's he doing here? And how dare he ask us about this scandal in Edgewood, BC? We're supposed to get nothing but positive questions here. And he was totally rebuffed. But it's not going to end at Edgewood, BC. It's not going to end at the Universal Ostrich Farms, even if the CFIA gets its way and destroys, kills, executes, murders. God knows how many more birds there are left. I don't know. But it would seem apparent that there's almost 100 that have already died as a result of CFIA neglect, maltreatment, and cruelty. They've got perhaps 300, maybe less, to go. Can they do that in 2 weeks? Yeah, they can. But you know what? They're gonna suggest had nothing to do with their cruelty, their maltreatment. It was all a result of a pre-existing condition, and they expect Canadians to be stupid enough to buy that idea, that theory, that false news, fake news, and completely fabricated response. But they'll expect Canadians to buy that. And God help us, a lot of Canadians will buy it. Until, of course, they are targeted by this Carney government. Which some people said, is Carney standing in front of his cops? Carney standing beside his RCMP commissioner. Just a little too cozy for my liking. Just a little too close. But that's where it's come to in Canada. It's the very image of a police state, especially when Carney stands behind hundreds of these guys who seem to be almost personally loyal to the Prime Minister and his government. That should never have happened. Yeah, there's that shot, and yeah, I meant to put this up. This is Senator Denise Batters, Conservative Senator. The RCMP Commissioner insists that he does not take orders from politicians at the same time as he and his RCMP troops, all dressed in uniform, stand behind the federal Liberal leader at Carney's press conference, isn't it? That is outrageous. And that's what this country has come to. Thank you for watching today. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you watching the show in a faithful and loyal way. And we're going to continue to bring you all the news you need to know about this and other stories. Wish we could cover everything. Might have to go to 2 shows a day next week because it's going to accelerate. It's not going to get slower. So we'll do what we have to. Thank you for watching. I'll be back again tomorrow with, please continue to resist. God bless this country, what's left of it. And Godspeed to all of you. Bye for now.